Madam Deputy Speaker. Like other members, I'd like to congratulate the Honourable Member for Oldham, Eastern Saddleworth for securing the debate and the Labour Party for likewise. I'm delighted to hear that the Secretary of State will be providing the assessments to my honourable friend, the Chairman of the Select Committee and the Select Committee. This is something that I think will be valuable. I think it probably would have been more helpful to actually provide them sooner, because I suspect quite a lot of the issues that the Secretary of State's various predecessors perhaps saw was coming, and certainly some of the ones that I flagged when I was in the Work and Pension Select Committee between 2010 and 2015, I suspect will actually be seen in those assessment documents. If that's the case, one of the things that I would ask the members of the Select Committee who are in the Chamber, and certainly the Chairman, the member for Birkenhead, is if some of the issues are clearly in the assessment documents that we've discovered have caused so much difficulty and the government's actually had to U-turn on them, then I would look forward to the Select Committee actually pointing those issues out very, very directly to the government, because it would be absolutely ridiculous if these issues, which certainly myself and I know the Honourable Member for Oldham, Eastern Saddleworth, when I was last in this place, actually put to the then Secretary of State, have come to pass. And so if they were in the assessment documents and ignored, I would be extremely disappointed on that. One of the things that yes, certainly.
I thank the Honourable Member for giving way. He mentioned a U-turn, and I know this is his second time in office, and when he was previously the MP for Eastbourne, is it correct that he voted in favour of universal credit in all its forms?
I appreciate the intervention, honourable friend. I doubly appreciate it. It gives me the opportunity to remind the House that numerous times at the Select Committee, I kept pointing out to the then Secretary of State for the DWP that if he didn't change the things around the auto payment default to landlords, the 6 or 7 week delay, it would be an absolute disaster. The reason I still went through the lobby actually leads me perfectly to the point of the most disastrous mistake of this government, absolute disastrous mistake of this government with universal credit, was that in 2015, the then Chancellor gutted universal credit on the work lands. They gutted it by £3 billion per annum, and that completely shattered the whole making work pay principle. And I see in the budget that they're taking some lessons from us, reminding them that that means the whole process is undermined. Because I see here, yes, I will give way.
I thank the Honourable Gentleman for giving way when he refers to the previous Chancellor. The problem we've got with universal credits is, like other benefits, the government had a target of cutting 12 billion out of the benefits budget. That's why you've got an imperfect system now, and what they're trying to do is make that system work, and they're making a bad job of it.
I appreciate the intervention from the Honourable Member. The intervention from the Honourable Member is actually quite right. My own theory is that the then Chancellor expected the Liberals to do a little bit better in 2015 because he knew that we wouldn't have allowed that 12 billion. We didn't. We weren't there to stop the Conservatives being absolutely idiotic on universal credit and frankly penalising the poor, so they gutted the 12 billion. They continued freezing the benefits, both of which we would have stopped. But let me go back to the budget, because apparently the budget was listening, and the Secretary of State for the DWP was making representations to the Chancellor because the party opposite, even they, began to realise that there were some fault lines within universal credit that were causing the most shattering problems for our constituents. And a number of honourable members from both sides of the House have spoken very eloquently of the really quite appalling experiences that people are going through. So let me go back to my key issue. The one reason why, despite through gritted teeth, I supported universal credit, despite making constant representation when I was at the Select Committee, and I know the Honourable Member for Oldham Eastern Saddleworth will agree with me around some of the clunky elements. The one thing that kept me going was the work allowance would make work pay. So as I've already said, the Chancellor 2015 took out £3 billion a year. So what happened with the current Chancellor is that there was obviously a recognition that the work allowance had been slashed so much that it barely washed its face and certainly didn't make work pay. So this is what I've got from the Local Government Association. The budget allocated £8 million, extra £8 million to trial innovative approaches to help individuals on universal credit to earn more of work. 8 million, that's 1% of 8 billion. It's a ridiculous amount. 3 billion was taken out every year for the next 5 years. I'm looking at the party opposite, the party that allegedly is the party of aspiration, and the Chancellor of the Exchequer puts in 8 million. That is a recognition, A, that it's not working from a making work pay perspective, but it shows the utter bankruptness of the party opposite about really trying to make what is ultimately, I think, could have been a very good credit system and benefit system to retain the failings of it and just not do what is necessary to make the real difference. Really very, very disappointing. Also, I've heard from the party opposite, well, obviously we can't really make the changes because technically it's too difficult around the 6 weeks, 5 weeks. Well, first off, they moved down a week, so that was a bit different to what they said a few weeks ago. But the other thing, let me share with my colleagues here. Any of our DUP colleagues? The DUP got an agreement a few years ago for the universal credit to be paid every 2 weeks. And equally, for there to be a default to the landlord in private rental. So, is it a different computer? Could I ask the Secretary of State, do in Northern Ireland, do they have a completely different computer and it's somehow a special DUP computer, or actually is it all based on the same system? Because my understanding, Secretary of State, it's based on the same system. If the DUP can get payment, and this is for years, this is even before they crept in to prop up this absurd government, is that if even the DUP can get payments every 2 weeks, why is it so impossible for us not to have it in the UK, considering we are seeing some absolutely desperate situations that people are involved in by having that long delay? Yes, there have been changes with advance payments, but my God, we had to drag that out of them. We had to drag it out of them like pulling teeth. So, you know, if they'd actually listened, frankly, over a year and a half ago, maybe even a few years ago, but I was other worker pensions, we wouldn't have gone through not only the elements of universal credit that reflect a moving car crash, but also, more importantly, as was so eloquently put by the member for South Cambridgeshire and the member for Birkenhead, the absolute searing pain, hurt and frustration that our constituents, that some of our constituents are experiencing, all because the government was determined ideologically to not listen around some of the elements of universal credit that we knew didn't work, and back again to the appalling gutting of universal credit work allowances of £3 billion per annum. And one other thing I'll say before I finish, it is affecting real people. That, combined with the benefits freeze, a figure given to me a few weeks ago by the Child Poverty Action Group, is that on average, the 2 million single parents in this country, on average, are going to be losing £2,380 per annum.
It's not part of us.
That's too much money. You know, we're all on good salaries in this place. £2,500, I would notice if that was taken out of my salary. I really would. If I'm a single parent on a low income and you're taking out, on average, some will be higher, 2,380, that is a scandal. That is just a scandal. It cannot proceed. I would urge the Secretary of State to go back to the Chancellor, to go back to the Chancellor on the work allowances, to go back to the Chancellor on the benefits freeze, and most of all, get universal credit right so that it can actually be the good benefit that originally was proposed to be before you gutted it and cutted it.